head to UFC, and then Demetrius Johnson is supposed to have D1. It's supposed to happen. It was finalized. Yeah, so it's a done deal now for sure. I told you. So here's the thing. This is great news for so many reasons. It's one of the biggest things that ever happened in mixed martial arts history. And the reason why I'm so excited about it is for Demetrius Johnson. You know, I saw him. I think it was on Aaron Hawani's show, or I think so. How he said he's always felt kind of like he's never got the kind of acceptance, the kind of notoriety that he's deserved. Fighting the UFC at the flyweight division. So by him going over to there, maybe can mix it up. They're going to appreciate him more, stuff like that. So it's a good move for Mighty Mouse. Because what's left? UNC, Cejudo again. Unless he wants to move up, do the super fights. TJ's there too. So he's always felt like he would be better. And they do celebrate the smaller fighters over in Japan, over in Asia, a lot better than Americans do. And then what does the UFC get in exchange for this? You get Ben Askren. And I posted about this, and Rogan and I have always been very high on Ben Askren for many reasons. You're getting a guy who is an Olympic wrestler, All-American national champion collegiate wrestler, a guy who's undefeated in mixed martial arts, and his style is so dominant that he's never really had close fights, and his fight style is so dominant. Now it's not going to blow your hair back if you're a guy who wants to see knockouts, but what he does, no one has figured that puzzle out. There's not a man on this planet who has figured out how to stop Ben Askren. How is that not fascinating to everybody I'm talking to right now? You look at the guys that he's beat. Look at the fucking guys that he's beat. Look at him.
Salute to DJ. I hope that works out for him. I have one question for that whole issue with DJ, not being appreciated by UFC fans in the States and all of that. It's true. I just think to make big fights where you are appreciated like that, you would need a big competitor. A competitor with a big name in 1FC. I don't know anybody. I only know that 1FC is run by Matt Humes, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there, but I don't see anybody. You know how I see this playing out? I think Demetrius Johnson is gonna fight one of the lighter guys who is a legend now. I think it could be Uriah Faber in 1FC for some sort of giant pay-per-view fight. They get 1 million pay-per-view buys. He becomes a superstar, so on and so forth, right? But I don't see that happening without that kind of fight lined up for him. As for Ben Askren, I've been saying for years at least I've been saying for a year, that it's time for him to get to the UFC. He has proven himself to be of UFC caliber fighters, In fact, I think he is one of the very few people outside the UFC that could beat Khabib. In the UFC, I've mentioned Tyron Woodley, Brian Ortega, maybe Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson has the strongest argument for that. Aside from those three, I don't see anybody beating Khabib. Now with Ben Askren in the mix, you have a whole nother caliber of athlete to compete with now. And ultimately, this makes me feel sad for guys like Nick and Nate Diaz. With guys like that in the UFC, they'll never be at the top. They'll never be champion, my guy. Khabib, Ben Askren, Tyron Woodley, just monsters. So now, it's so sad for them, man. The longer they wait, the less relevant they become, the older they become. That is one of the saddest stories in MMA. The Diaz brothers and their beef with Dana White or the UFC has ultimately cost them the prime of their careers. And what's sad about that, even though they're in the prime of their careers, I don't think they can compete with the highest caliber in the UFC. I simply don't think I don't want to say talent. Let me just say skill. I personally don't think they are as skilled as the best of the best in the UFC, man. I really don't. Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe, and I am out.